Oh, this is gonna be crazy.
Okay, destroy the building.
Alright, hello everyone and welcome to another edition of SpraynPray1000's Verdict. And additionally, welcome to the first verdict of 2015. I am SpraynPray1000 and today we're going to talk about a game that's actually pretty significant, I dare say. A game that I've been waiting for quite some time. A game that, you know, it's a pretty long series at this point, spanning a bunch of different consoles, I believe 4 different generations. Today I'm going to talk about Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, the latest Super Smash Bros. Game to come out. Of course, this one is paired alongside the 3DS version, which I did not play, so I will not be reviewing that today. Instead, I will be reviewing the Wii U edition, which is the one I waited online for outside of Nintendo World. I had a blast, you know, I had a lot of fun, and I'm going to jump right into it. So, first thing I want to talk about is the gameplay, which is basically one of the big meaty chunks of this game and what, you know, this game is really about. Super Smash Bros. Is a fighting game series. Now, it's not fighting, I would say, that you could put alongside, you know, say Tekken or Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but it's more of a light-hearted, kid-friendly version. You know, there's no real blood or gore or anything along those lines, and it's not gruesome in any way. You have characters from, you know, renowned franchises, you know, that belonging to Nintendo for the most part, that such as Mario, you know, Zelda. You have also Samus. You have other characters like Donkey Kong, Pit. So basically, all the different Nintendo franchises have characters come and represent them in this game, and they all have different fighting styles, and you know, they all share, while they share some similar movesets and some archetypes, each character is unique, and that's one of the first things I'm going to go ahead and praise this game for. It continues to diversify characters that were either very, very similar or have very similar archetypes in Melee and even in Brawl, and they continue to make each character unique, have a certain twist to them, and, you know, really feel like each one deserves their own playstyle, and that no two characters are essentially palette swaps, which was a big problem in Melee and somewhat of a problem in Brawl, that a lot of characters were basically just duplicates with maybe 1 or 2 small little differences other than appearance. And that's why I like that a lot about this game. For example, I'll give a good example. In this game, there's a character, well, everyone knows him. His name is Mario. Now, Mario is a pretty well-rounded fighter. You know, he has his typical moves and whatnot, which are very apropos to his franchise. And then they have Dr. Mario, who is a slightly remixed version of Mario. He has a couple of different things about him. He's a bit heavier than Mario. I believe he does a little more damage as a trade-off. He has a hard time recovering to the stage, and, you know, he plays more similar to the Melee version of Mario, which had a slightly different moveset than the Brawl version. So it's pretty good that they have 2 different types of Mario, depending on which one you prefer. I like that about this game. Now, in Super Smash Bros., there's a couple of different game modes that you can play. Generally, the idea of Smash is that you are playing as one of these characters on the screen, you know, from whatever franchise. Maybe if you're playing, like, say, multiplayer with your friends, you pick your character. Other times in, say, event mode or something along those lines, you're given a character and you need to work with it. The general idea is to deal enough damage to your opponent that you can successfully knock them off the stage and they can't recover, which results in more points for you. Or if you're playing stock mode, it reduces their lives, and stock is more like survival because of that. And each character has, you know, their typical moveset, the same kind of moves. Some might have different properties. You know, maybe some moves are a bit slower but deal a little more damage. Some moves might be quick. Some might lead into a combo, which has a finishing move. And unlike other fighting games, Smash doesn't necessarily have health bars that deplete. Rather, the more you take damage, or the more a character takes damage, the more likely they are to launch, the higher their damage ratio gets, until the point where they just simply get launched off the screen and they can't recover. And they get launched too far and they can't get back onto the stage. Unlike a lot of other fighting games where you have health bars that deplete. Now, there is a mode inside Smash Bros. That's called Stamina Mode, which is kind of similar to other fighting games. So you can play that. You can also tweak the stamina somewhat, which is pretty cool. But just, there's so many different game types in this game. And I'm just going to list a lot of them off the top of my head. There's Classic Mode. There's All-Star Mode. There's Event Mode. There's the Orders Mode, whether it be Master Orders or Crazy Orders. There's Stadium Mode. There's Multi-Man Smash. There's Target Blast. And there's Trophy Rush. There's Training. There's just so many different game modes, and all the ones that I just listed, by the way, are just single player mode. You know, the kind that you would sit down and you would play by yourself, or in some cases you can even team up with someone else and do two-player classic or two-player all-star, etc., etc. Which is pretty cool that they let you do that. If you have a friend over, you can team up with them and get some work done. Additionally, there's Smash, the standard 4-player Smash. This game actually goes ahead and includes and allows up to 8 people to play at once on the same console, on the same screen, which is pretty crazy. Now, admittedly, 7 to 8 player Smash is a little bit hectic. It is a little bit crazy. It is a little bit over the top, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. However, if you do have 8 people, it does function, so I would say go ahead and try it. Of course, not every stage is 8-player worthy. Some stages are locked when you go to 7 to 8 people. And some stages are also locked when you try to do 5 to 6, but there's more stages available if you do 5 to 6 players than 7 to 8. So I do like that they did that. Another thing that I like that they did is if you played the 3DS version, there's really almost no difference besides graphics and frame rate and stuff like that between playing on the 3DS version and playing on this version. So you can actually opt to play with your 3DS if you bring it over and you connect it to the Wii U, which is awesome. I know that my friend Instant Retreat was very happy he could play on what he was used to. As for me, I stuck with the GameCube controller, which is another cool thing that this game does, is there's a wide variety of ways that you can actually sit down and control yourself in this game. So you could play on the gamepad, you could play on the Wii Remote, I believe you could play with the nunchuck in the Wii Remote, you could play with the Pro Controller, you can play with a GameCube controller if you use an adapter, you can even use the Wavebird with it, which is pretty sweet. I did not think the Wavebird would work. I forgot if they told me or not. And you could use the 3DS. So there's a bunch of different ways you can play this game, and you can tweak the buttons, you can tweak everything. So like, let's say you like a GameCube controller, but there was always a certain setup you wanted to try, and you couldn't because the game forced you to try a certain way. Well, in this game, bam, you can set it. For me, I like to turn off tap to jump. That's just my personal preference. And speaking of controls, basically in this game you have your movement stick, which allows you to move left and right. You can duck with it if you hold down. Some characters can move while holding down. You can jump if you tap up on the stick to jump, although you can opt to turn it off, which is what I do, and I would personally recommend that. You can, there's A is your basic move, that's basically your quick moves, the moves that you can use in a pinch. If you slam the stick, well, don't slam it, but if you strongly push the stick in one direction and press A, you'll do something called a smash attack, which is useful for knocking other players off. If you combine the stick movements with A and you don't push it as quickly, you can do other moves like uppercuts or leg sweeps. B does your special moves. You can do left stick plus B in certain directions, which will change what special moves, and the special moves are all the moves are very similar to what the characters actually have from their various franchises. So for example, Mario throws fireballs. He has the cape from Super Mario World. He has Flood from Sunshine. Link has his bows, his bow, his boomerang, some bombs. He does his spin attack. He does all these different moves. Samus does bombs and missiles and beam attacks. And it's really cool because all the characters really play like how they would, from their own franchises. Now, there are some added exceptions. Obviously a lot of characters aren't fighters in their franchise. So, for example, Captain Falcon, Sheik, Zelda, for instance. Not a lot of these characters have always been fighters, so they do a good job of giving them movesets that are very true to their franchise, and I like that about this game. Now, one of my criticisms of the game earlier on was that they had a lot of duplicate characters, a lot of characters that were kind of like, well, yeah, they're kind of the same person, with a costume. For the most part, I will say that a lot of those characters do offer a decent amount of stuff that I would say that they deserve to be their own character. The only character that I might call into question might be Dark Pit, whose major difference is that his special or his final smash is different. But I'll leave that to them. I think that because I actually enjoy playing as Dark Pit, I like what he has to offer, and I especially like the way he looks. What I also like is that they bring back a lot of modes. You know, they have event mode, which is one of my favorite modes. I really enjoyed that in Melee, playing all the different events. You know, they were very challenging and very difficult. This one is a little bit more like the one from Brawl, a little bit more different. You know, and overall, I do like it. Now, the other thing I do like is just the way this game looks. This game runs fantastically on 4-player. You know, up to 4 people, maybe 5. This game will run pretty well. Stable frame rate, solid. You know, no problems there. The game will run in 1080p if you're broadcasting, if you're displaying up to that. And I like that. I really enjoy it. The other thing I will say is all the characters have great designs. They really look good. And I feel like the game is a lot more balanced than Brawl ever was. And that's a pretty big problem I had with Brawl, was that the game just kind of felt like it was not balanced at all. This game does a pretty decent job of balancing out all the different characters. Some of the characters that were pretty bad in Brawl weren't, you know, have gotten buffed. Some of them that were really overpowered have gotten nerfed. I like the way that they redid everything, and they added in a bunch of new characters that I would have never expected to see in this game. From various franchises that have been on the Wii, and I like that a lot. And there's potential that there's more on the way, and I'm enjoying that. The other thing I will say is the amiibos are pretty cool if that's your kind of thing. If you want to buy something outside of the game like that, basically they're figurines that you can train in this game, and they can fight alongside you. You can fight against them. That's pretty cool if that's your thing. If not, you know, it's not required to fully enjoy this game. It's more of an added thing on the side. You don't have to do it. I want to throw that out there. You can otherwise a lot of the stuff that returns from Brawl, or well, that wasn't Brawl, returns for this game. Like you can do, you can build stages, you can take screenshots, you can do stuff. There's plenty of trophies to collect, tons of music, and let me tell you, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, and generally just Smash Bros. Games in general, have some of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in my life. Now, to be fair, it is a compilation of other franchises, although a lot of these songs have been remixed to be put into this game. They've had things change, maybe to be more fast-paced or more action-oriented, but I do love the soundtrack for Super Smash Bros. Brawl. So it might be a bit unfair because, you know, yeah, it has soundtracks from, you know, potentially hundreds of games in it, but for one game, I will say that this has one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in my life. Because it combines so many great songs and it remixes so many ones to be better. And there are some classic songs in here that have not been touched, which is pretty cool. So, so I like that about this game. Now let's get into what I don't like about this game. Unfortunately, I feel that this game, at some points, feels more like an expansion to Brawl than its own standalone game. So I'll explain. This game only features about a handful of new stages. Some of these stages were in Brawl, and a lot of them were in either Melee or Brawl. And I just feel like, you know, for a new game, I wish there were more. I feel like too many of these stages were in older games. And while I do like that they do bring back some classic stages, I do wish that there were, you know, more new ones. And I mean, the ones that they do have are very nice. You know, they're very well designed. But I just get the feeling like a lot of the stages, you know, I think I want to say about maybe 40 to 50% of the stages in this game were in older Smash Bros. Games, you know, if not more of them. I'm not too clear on that right now. I'm not thinking too hard. But that's one thing I don't like. So at some points, this game feels more like an expansion to Brawl. The biggest complaint I have about this game, and it was such a bad complaint, I don't even factor it into what I think about Brawl on a regular basis, is this game's online. This game online is better than Brawl. I will say that. But that's not, if you played Brawl, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's not saying much, okay? Brawl online was laggy. You would spend, you know, sometimes 10, 20, 30 minutes waiting to get into a lobby with a group of people. You would get in and you would play. Everyone's using the most broken characters, and it would be lagging. It would be like watching a PowerPoint, and it would just be so disappointing because they would have so much cool stuff in the game. You want to try the online, and the online is not good. That is the face of disappointment. And this game is better than that, but at the same time, not good enough. And the reason I say this is because while I was playing online, I would have good connections with, say, Searcher2 or whoever, you know, people I know have good connections and people who live close to me. And then I would just go play public, and I would play against people who would just be lagging so badly the match. When you start the match, all the characters do their series-specific intros, like Captain Falcon rides in on his Blue Falcon, and it would lag then, and it would just be so frustrating to try and play for glory and just sit down and try to play online, and you just can't even do anything because it is a PowerPoint. And then there are people who I don't know, no proof, but there are people who will be, you'll be maybe winning a game against them, and they'll get down to their last life, and the game will go to shit. Now, I don't know if that's the game. I don't know if that's people, you know, revving up their torrents and doing everything on their internet at once to give them the worst connection, which means they can do more. I don't know. But this game online, unfortunately, lacks one crucial thing, and that's a good, stable connection. Now, it needs, what it really optimally in a perfect world would require is dedicated servers, that you can connect to a dedicated server at any given time, and that server will host all the fighting, you know, and then it's based off your connection to the server, not, you know, one person's connection to another person, which at times can be very, very bad. So I dislike that. Unfortunately, the online is very spotty, and they punish you if you leave a game. Now, which I understand if they do, but if a game has such a poor connection, I think that I speak for a lot of people when I say there's no point in staying in a game where you can't even get your moves out within a reasonable amount of time. I'm talking like you push a button and it takes 2 seconds for the game to even register you pushed a button. I'm not playing a game of you know, being psychic here. I'm playing a fighting game. I need to react in real time to what's happening. And I mean, I understand, you know, this game isn't, you know, Street Fighter tier fighting or whatever, but I'd like when I push a button for my move to come out instantly, and unfortunately online, that is where this game fails. Thankfully, this game does have a host of other modes. So you can play, I recommend playing this game online if you have friends. If you want to play this public online, I wish you the best of luck, honestly. And I'll say that when I played online for about 3 hours. About half my games were just laggy and unplayable. Delay ranging from half a second to 2 to 3 seconds. Not my ideal. Like, for me, I can't stand that. It drives me up the wall. So, if you have friends who will play this game, boom, perfect purchase. You know, go ahead and play this and enjoy the host of other single-player modes. If not, I wish you luck. Now, the other thing I don't like about this game, well, I already said that it's kind of like a reference, or not a reference to Brawl, but the other thing I just don't like about this game is that there's no adventure mode. And this was a problem I knew was coming a long time ago, because Nintendo and Sakurai themselves confirmed that this game would have no adventure mode. And I mean, one of the reasons they cited for it is because Sakurai is a very, very big believer on the first experience when you play a game, that you only really have one chance to wow someone. He didn't want people uploading it to YouTube. And unfortunately, this is the one point where I disagree with the man, okay? Welcome to the 2000s, like welcome to 2012, you know, welcome to 2010. Every game has this problem. Even single-player games, you know, everyone, you know, records it, and whether or not they're doing playthroughs or montages or anything, every game is going onto YouTube, whether you like it or not, whether the company wants it or not. You know, people are going to go ahead and do it, and just about every other company has come to terms with that. You know, you have PlayStation, where they have this button entirely dedicated to sharing your stuff with the internet. You know, even on Xbox. So this is kind of, it's kind of a disagreeable thing that I have with this game. That no single player, because you're not going to wow people. I understand that if they didn't want to put the same kind of effort in that they put into Brawl, where they put the Subspace Emissary, where they had this overarching plot involving all the different characters and everything. But at least do what you did in Melee, you know? Like, at least put in an adventure, a themed adventure mode, you know? Something along those lines. At least put that in. But they didn't even put that in, and I really feel like it detracts from this game. And unfortunately, that's something I'm going to have to take some points off for, because while I do like this game a lot, regretfully, it lacks the same full experience, I feel. In Melee, you had 3 single-player modes, you know, 3 big ones at least. You had Classic mode, which is your standard kind of overcome a couple obstacles and themed fights. You had your All-Star mode, which is fight every character, and I really love All-Star mode in this game, by the way. Let me tell you, in this game, All-Star mode, you fight every character in the game once you've unlocked them in reverse chronological order, which is pretty cool, you know, to see all these different characters from the years they were made. But no adventure mode kind of really cuts a little deep. And I kind of disagree with that, and I don't like that. Now, the new modes that they do have are pretty cool. Master Orders and Crazy Orders are two different modes. Basically, what in Master Orders, you do a certain type of battle. You know, you fight alongside maybe teammates, or maybe you fight against, you know, you fight a horde of enemies or whatnot for rewards such as custom movesets, trophies, music, anything, stickers, you know, along those lines. And Crazy Orders is more of a high-risk, high-reward, where you either win everything or you win only a portion of your rewards if you lose, and you have to buy in. Trophy Rush allows you to get trophies pretty easily. You know, you can buy trophies as well using coins that you rack up from playing all the different modes and playing with your friends and everything along those lines. And it's enjoyable. So I'm going to say that. Like, even with all the faults that this game has, they're not too big. So I would say that I would take off maybe 5 points, you know, here or there for stuff. But ultimately, I really enjoyed this game. And I think that it's still one of the biggest games out there for the Wii U. Really strong. You should definitely pick it up if you're even remotely interested in it, because there's just a lot of quality stuff to do in here, whether it be just the music, if you want to read on the trophies, let alone the fighting. There's so much other stuff you can do. And I really enjoyed it. Way more than Brawl. As much as Melee, I don't know, but definitely more than Brawl. And that's good, because Brawl was already by itself a decent game. This game is just flat out good and flat out fun. So I'm going to give Super Smash Bros. For Wii U a 92 out of 100. Pretty good. I enjoy it. It was fun. You know, it's only for Wii U, definitely. I should mention that while I'm also throwing it out here. Not the 3DS version. Might be a completely different review. I don't know if I'll ever play the 3DS version. But Super Smash Bros. For Wii U definitely gets a 92 out of 100 from me. Unfortunately, the online definitely takes off at least 5 points, because it's so sad that even now, you know, I can't play with people all over the web reliably. Lack of adventure mode, and the fact that this game is kind of more like a Brawl rehash at some points, you know, some specific parts of it, like the lack of new stages and whatnot, that takes off maybe like 3 or so points. Still, one of the better games I'm probably going to play this year. Well, I played it in 2014 and this year, but one of the better games you'll probably play for the Wii U, and definitely overall in this year since it's come out. So, that's it for this edition of SpraynPray1000's Verdict. I am SpraynPray1000. I really hope you guys go on and, you know, you check out these games, whether it be the custom fighters, whether it be playing with your friends, whether it be fighting against amiibos, against computer, doing multi-man smash, going for the challenges, grabbing trophies, getting music discs, enjoying the game overall in any way you please. By all means, definitely check it out. Tons of great franchises in here. I really enjoyed it, and I'm SpraynPray1000, and I'll see you next time for the Verdict.